From the kitchen of the cabin, it's the 5 Games for Doomsday review.
Renegade. Why do we have theme in games? Why is it there? Most games are abstractions and could be played with plain dice and index cards within rudimentary lines on A4 paper. Look at any design blog or game maker's Twitter feed and you'll see cut-out bits of paper with scrawls on them, directions crossed out and rewritten. This is what games are before they're sold to us. This is what games are. This is the skeleton of games, the real content of games, the website before all the fancy graphics have been added. Yet added they are, and the truth is, most of us wouldn't want to play those prototypes. Sure, there are loads of people who playtest, but we like the pictures, we like the doodads we can hold in our hands, and we definitely like the theme. Remember the box for Abyss, that single image release that made everyone drool? This is the power of the aesthetic, the power of theme. If we see something that is visually arresting, we want it. We want to own beauty. It's instinctual. In its worst excesses, it's the collector who buys the great master and hides it away for their own solitary delectation. And at its best, it is the beauty you lay on the table and ask your friends to play with. It is the intrinsic appreciation of things we find cool. Now shoot that instinct through the prism of experience and the barnacles that have attached themselves to us throughout the years. Then all of those pleasure neurons are fired when we see a game that appeals to our sense of cool. And this is one use for theme. To appeal to our sense of cool, to drench the abstract in something appealing, to transport the quotidian to the unique, to make our leisure time stand out from our work time because, like it or not, we all love to hate work. Then there's the more utilitarian use of theme. Theme as an aid to memoir, a catalyst to intuition, a thematic spoonful of sugar to help the mechanical medicine go down. This is feeding the elders first in Nussfjord or the TMI worker escape in Euphoria. Thematic tags that help us to remember or grasp how and why we do something. I'm discussing this because this is the conversation we had after playing Renegade from Victory Point Games and Richard Wilkins. Specifically the second use of theme and how in this game the utilitarian use of theme has warped and metastasized until it's damaged the game almost irreparably. Renegade is a co-op cyberpunk game in which players are seeking to infiltrate a supermassive computer in a dystopic future world, and it is one of the most egregious overuses of thematic integration I've ever played. Firstly, though, I want to say that Renegade isn't a bad game. In fact, it's very good. It's a knotty spatial puzzle combined with a sleek deck-building mechanic that leads to deliberation and a lot of talk over the table about what's to be done. Once you've stripped away all of the pointless symbols, extraneous jargon and gratuitous thematic guff that actively prevents you from engaging with the game. This is a game that is barely more complex than Pandemic, and yet the rulebook is written in the style of the most arcane wargame. There is a labyrinth of symbols and logos and colours that seek to distract you from the fact there are essentially 4 actions that could be very intuitive but are mired in the fact that this is a finished game with prototype rules. Then there's the jargon. Every action, sub-action and paragraph heading has a new term that you have to learn. All of the terms are supposed to aid immersion, but instead push you out of the theme of the game by leaving you scratching your head and wondering if you're supposed to install here or replicate, and are those even terms for it? The player board is a spaghetti bolognese of circles and equal sign and brackets that read like a computer science paper, except it doesn't. I played this with someone who has a PhD in computer science, and he was as baffled as the rest of us. The terms and symbols and rules are so counterintuitive and heavy-handed that it seems like a conspiracy between the publisher and the designer to prevent players from engaging with the game. It took me a couple of hours of YouTube videos and 3 reads of the rulebook before I felt halfway confident in teaching the game, and this game is not complex. This is the biggest problem. It defeats you as soon as you open the rulebook and you're done before you even have a chance to play. Where does the blame for this lie? I've no idea of the development process at Victory Point Games, but someone should have told the designer no. As the rules of the game started to disappear down an arcane spiral, they should have said simplify, only connect the prose and the passion and both will be exalted, live in fragments no longer, but they didn't. They allowed it to go out of control, and it's a crying shame because, as I've said, the game is good. But what should have been 2 pages of rules was turned into an electronics manual. Theme should always be a help and never a hindrance, but the overabundance of theme in Renegade has damaged something beautiful. play this game, but for the love of all that is holy, don't be the one to learn it. You can support this show by going to patreon.com/5G4D.